Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. And welcome to Positive Talk, everybody. I've got a great show for you today, because if you've ever thought that you want to be an entrepreneur and you have a great idea and you know what you think you want to do, and your family and friends are all telling you, oh no, now you have got a good job. You've got what I call the golden handcuffs, meaning that you can't leave because you're making too much money and you're going to go do your own thing and you're not going to make a dime. How could you? You've got a family. But in your heart, you really feel like you want to do something special. You want to be an entrepreneur. You want to create something basically out of nothing from your mind. But you get into it and you discover, hey, this is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. And you run into roadblocks and you can't seem to get it together. Well, we've got a gentleman here today who's going to help you through it. And he's a coach. He's got a website which is called leadersadapt.com. Go there and you can find out all about him. And I'm going to actually have him say his name so that I don't screw it up, as I'm liable to do. Because, well, let me give it a try. Andreas Pettersson.
Nailed it. You got it. Nothing to be nervous about, Kevin. And if I did it in Swedish, it would be Andreas Pettersson. But I tried that version when I moved to US. It just doesn't stick on people. So that's why it's Andreas.
Perfect. Andreas, it's great to have you here, because you are one of those people who has been through the wars. You've been a CEO of 3 different companies, and you've made a sizable income from time to time. And what motivated you to decide, I want to help other people do what I know how to do so well?
After that intro, like, you almost had me speechless there, but that doesn't work. So amazing intro, and thank you for teeing it up that way. I think what ended up happening was I reached a stage in life, Kevin, where I get more fulfillment seeing other people win. And I've met so many people who really struggle, or they're so passionate going into when they started their company, and they're just not in love with their company anymore, or they are the person that solves all the problems or financial situations or whatever it is. And when you have helped many over the last decade, but I really started doing it as a business and decided to leave the corporate world back in November. When you get text messages when you wake up where someone tells you, I just wanted to tell you, Andreas, that because of your advice and the changes I made, I have never seen my business so clearly, or I haven't loved what I do in years, or I finally know what to do now to get out of the situation I'm in, or like all these type of comments, I have a little, I take a print screen. This is going to sound weird. I actually take a print screen and I have a folder of every time I feel like I really helped an entrepreneur to the better. And if I'm having a shitty day, then I open up that folder and I sit and scroll. And I think after doing this for a long time, I just felt like I couldn't achieve the same things while I'm in a W-2 role or a CEO role.
And it's important that you follow your heart in the mission that you're on, because you can't do everything.
No.
But if you can do something well, and you can do what I think is the highest calling that anyone can have, and that's to give to other people. And what you can give to other people really elevates your heart, elevates your soul, and it makes it work for you. At least it does for me. I'm sure that is your idea as well.
Absolutely. And I think the word abundance come in. It's been a little overused recently, but or at least what I hear. But for me, it's a lot of motivation earlier in my career in my life. It was fear-based motivation, or that then shifted to aspiring into certain titles, yearly salaries, making certain amount of money. But then after a while, it's not the same anymore. I can't really put a finger on what changed along the way, but obviously being in a financial good spot helps, but it's not that. Like I think Swedish have a word and it doesn't exist in English. The best way to translate it, it's Swedish word is lagom, and it means just enough. It's like when the society in Sweden is when I've reached a certain level in my career, in life, it's expected of you to give back and help others achieve what they want to get to that level where it's like just enough. And I think I reached that point last year where I felt like I just have enough. I'm still ambitious. I still do additional things on the side. I run a real estate investment fund. And of course, I always go walk around with another software startup idea. But it's not, I still get a massive joy of seeing other people win. And I think it's rooted in that word of where I come from and my culture.
Well, and it makes sense that when you get to a certain point and it's just enough, you've
Yeah.
got enough of this, you don't need more stuff. But now it's a matter of living your passion
Yeah.
and serving other people to become who they really are at their core. But oftentimes, and a point I feel, well, being one, I am an entrepreneur. I also was in management for a long time, and being an entrepreneur is really harder than being in management and working for somebody else, because the rules are already set for you. You've got a manual, you've got bosses, you've got other people that are around that are telling you, okay, this is how we operate here, this is our company culture. But when you're an entrepreneur and you start a business, you don't have any of those things. You have to create the culture yourself and surround yourself with the right people and the right products and the whole thing. And it can be really a hard place to be, because especially, you can't think outside of what you already know.
I
What you
love
know is
that you
what you
point
know.
this out. And you probably lived this and you experienced the oh shit moment when not everything was for free anymore and was just there.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
I think I think people need a W2 detox. It's like when you leave the corporate world, and I've met several founders. I worked with several of them, and they have been an entrepreneur for 6 to 12 months, and I start working with them, and they establish like rigid processes. They have overstaffed with certain people because they were just used to, like, of course we need legal, of course we need a CFO, of course we need HR. But if you're a startup, you can just hire, there's CFO services that you pay outsource, and they don't have to be in US. They can be in US, but you just need a fractional person helps you with your numbers. You don't need a full-time HR. You don't, like, you need a fractional one, or all these things. And you don't need all the processes and procedures. It's the not too much, not nothing, but not too much either. And the common thread I see is a lot of people who worked in a corporate world for years, they have great ideas. They just bring the process, procedure, and the mindset into the entrepreneurial world and fail miserably. So my number one suggestion is, don't go it alone. Partner with someone that already have been through the journey. Surround yourself with other entrepreneurs, and then be open. Like, curiosity is the cure for almost everything in life. But you have to be exceptionally curious when you go from the W2 world or a paycheck to being an entrepreneur. And also, I mean, it's not a promo for me. Like, go work with anyone, but go find a mentor, a coach, an advisor, someone that isn't just someone that have been a coach or a mentor and advisor for corporate people, but actual startup environments, and they will point you in the right direction. And get curious, ask why for everything. Like, why don't we need an HR? Why don't we need a multi-million-dollar marketing budget? Why shouldn't I scale up my channel before I even found product fit? Like, just get curious on everything, and yeah, you won't have to battle. I love that you steer the conversation in that direction, by the way. So many people miss this.
It's really important because, and I went through that myself, which was I partnered up with somebody that had just completed business school, had a set idea of how you structure and set up a company. And so, you have SOPs, standard operating procedures, and you've got this, and you need to put it into this format, and you need to get QuickBooks, and you need to have all this stuff before we even had an idea of what we were going to be. And we weren't being successful because we were so into the weeds with the minutia of doing all of this stuff that we lost sight of why we're here. And I think that
Exactly.
happens to so many of us, doesn't it?
So many, and you have to you have to get frenetic on the ICP. What is the ideal customer profile? Like, who is the persona, the avatar, no matter what you name it, and what is their pain point, and what are they buying? Like, you got to get frenetic on that. And as an entrepreneur, I see so many people who build it and they will come. They don't. Like, it's the fields of dream mindset, right? It doesn't work. You have to start selling. You have to sell paper mock-ups. You have to literally draw your idea on a piece of paper and go sell the paper to someone, and not spend all this time investing into marketing and sales and all these other things. Like, it's an iterative process. There is a beautiful, amazing book written many years ago called Ready, Fire, Aim. And
Yeah.
you read it. It's an exceptionally good book. And why it's good is because most corporate people aim, 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 and they're never ready and they never fire. An entrepreneur, they are ready. Like, let's go. Let's just fire. Let's get a direction going, whatever it is. Let's get out on the field. Let's start selling it. Let's pitch it to people. Let's get market validation. Like, let's build an MVP. And then when you fail, then you aim and you iterate, you iterate, you iterate, you iterate until you get traction of the product fit, until you get traction on your messaging fit. And then you start building your proper go-to-market channel. But you should not do it, like, you shouldn't start there. And so many people start there.
Yeah, and then comes the point when the entrepreneur has run through all of their ideas and they're still not successful, and then they hate the fact that they became an entrepreneur. And it's not that they aren't good at it, it's just that they don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
And that's why you need a coach who can look at you from the outside in and can tell you things you may not want to hear, because if you as an entrepreneur, you hire somebody and you think they're going to be okay, but you don't expect them to tell you when you're wrong because you're the boss.
Yeah.
But there is no other boss. And so it makes it really hard to find somebody that will tell you exactly how it really is and for you to accept it. And I know that's part of your work, and so I imagine it comes with a hard conversation every now and again.
It comes with a hard conversation. I'm very picky with who I work with, and obviously my service isn't free. I need people to feel they have skin in the game. I need them to go hard at it, and I'm selective. Like, I have had people who, for me, it's like they sit in the first meetings and they promise all the things they're going to do, and not to me, like, they promise themselves. And next meeting goes, and like, I didn't get to that, we had an emergency, blah blah blah. Next week, my kids were sick. I'm like, okay, I get it. Do that one more time, I don't want to work with you. And they're like, oh, but I pay you. Yeah, but I'm not wasting my life on you. Life is long if you know how to use it. I know how to use it. Don't do that again. And just a few months ago, I fired a client. 3 weeks in a row, didn't do anything, didn't hold. Like, if you can't be promising, like I said, it's not about money for me. I charge money, I charge a premium, I get them results. But it's for them. If your heart is not in it, Kenneth, like why are you were just looking, like if you don't listen. And I have had potential clients who come to me and I tell, like, just a simple question: tell me about your business, tell me what keeps you up on a Friday night. If you had a magic wand, what would be the first 3 wishes you made, or first things you put in place, or pixie dust, whatever. And after they have a 40-minute monologue, and I just sit there and I listen and ask a few follow-up questions. And then I asked them, one guy, I asked, why did you reach out to me? You don't need me. You have all the answers. And the guy did not understand what I was saying, Kevin. It was mind blowing. I was like, you don't need me. You know what to do, clearly. And the guy, by the way, he was 80% there. What he needed to do was fire his partner, because his partner, and he was just so defensive of his partner, yet he complained about them and then he was defensive. But anyway, I had another person who reached out to me. They have a company they've been working at for 3 years. And I told them flat out, I think you should kill the product. Like, I don't believe in it. But I'm not an expert at your industry, and my opinion, although interesting, is irrelevant. But if you want to work with me, I need you to go to 5 other people in the industry that isn't your friends. And I don't know if you ever read another good book called The Mom Test. The Mom Test, any starting entrepreneur should read. You can read it in a couple of hours. The Mom Test is basically, your mom will lie to you if it's a good idea. Your friends will lie to you if it's a good idea. Go ask real customers or real potential partners if they would buy it from you.
By
The
way,
guy just wrote an email saying, thank you. And then I still don't know what happened, but I guess he talked to other people and he didn't like what he heard.
well, I got to tell you, you're one of the few coaches that I know that actually fired a client. And when we come back from this break,
It has happened multiple times.
when we come back from this break, I'd love to get his answer when you said, "I'm sorry, I'm firing you," and it's like, what? I'm paying and all that. So we're talking with Andreas Pettersson, and I think I got that right.
You nailed it.
Andreas Pettersson, and go to his website, which is leadersadapt.com. And we're going to talk about more about that. And in the second half of the program, we're going to delve into some of the mistakes that I've made as I've been going down this journey, because quite frankly, they're fairly substantial. So we'll be right back. So stay right where you are. Are you looking for a powerful way to grow your brand while making a real difference? Well, Positive Talk is the perfect platform to align your message with inspiration, hope, and meaningful conversations. By sponsoring Positive Talk, your brand will reach an engaged audience that values positivity and connection. People who want to support companies that share their values. Take this opportunity to showcase your business in a space that uplifts, inspires, and creates lasting impact. Don't wait. Email me, kevin@kmmedia.pro today to learn how you can partner with us and spread positivity while growing your brand. And welcome back to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin McDonald. And I got to tell you, Andreas, you're from Sweden, right?
I'm from Sweden.
Do you know who Tommy Tika is? Have you ever heard that name?
That sounds super familiar.
He is a musician from Sweden, and he was on the show a bunch of times. That's his song that I helped him write it, and so that's a song that I use for my opening and all that kind of stuff. So he's a tremendously gifted musician, and now he's an author as well. So I just wanted to throw that in because I think you guys. I personally think you guys are a lot smarter than we are over here, but that's just me. But what was the reaction of the people that when you said, life is too short, and my life is too short to work with you because I've got better things to do, and I want people to be successful, and you're not showing the signs. What was their response?
I'll give you 2 examples because this have happened many times, and I fired clients that actually signed on. But the first one guy specifically, he spent the next 20 minutes convincing me why I should work with him, and then in the end of the day, like, I want to know one thing: is this person vulnerable, and are they willing to listen? Are they willing to change? And the best way you can do that is give someone feedback. So, and we were spending a little bit more time than I wanted to, because I actually thought I could really help the guy. But if you're too arrogant, you're not going to listen, and it's going to be your way of the highway. So I tested him. This wasn't the 40 minutes guy. This was a guy who talked for 20 minutes and had answers for everything. But anyway, so in the end of the day, I gave him feedback and I said, look, I perceive you as a very arrogant person that is not curious, you're not listening, and you're not really answering my questions. You're giving fluffed or like pre-baked answers, and I don't feel like I can genuinely connect with you. The guy got quiet, like really quiet. It felt like an eternity. And I'm a very radical kind of like, if I screw something up, tell me straight up, I screwed it up. I would love to hear it. I get curious and I want to understand why. The guy basically goes, I did not see this coming, and ask me a few more questions and see if it's a better answer. And the guy changed from a sales pitch to I know everything to, and I don't want to say the name of this person because it is a former client now. I actually helped him for quite some time and got his business off the ground. But he ended up, one of them ended up course correcting instantly. Other people I've done that with are basically going to go, or have gone, like, okay, I guess we're done. And they literally just leave the Zoom call. And I have seen people write things online about my approach multiple times as well. Who does this guy think he is? Blah, blah, blah. And yeah, I will tell you to your face. The guy who wrote thank you in capital letters in an email, he obviously discovered something. If he did what I wanted him to do, I don't know. He didn't reply after I tried to ping him back. In the end of the day, I have had other people do this to me, and I have had situations in my career. The first 3 years as a CEO, I remember just, and this goes off in a different tangent, Kevin, and maybe you have a different answer, but I'll sell it super quick. I did not know what I was doing the first 3 years. I cracked the code after 3 years, and I feel like I wasted time the first 3 years. Other people slapped me over the face and went like, you better start paying attention now or you will F this up. And see, I caught myself.
Thank you.
I listened. I needed a come to Jesus conversation myself, and it changed my career radically. So I believe, even if it hurts short term, and I met so many coaches, I'm going to say the opposite here. I met coaches who I start working with, they're great, and then they latch on like a leech, and they don't dare, they just kiss ass after a time, and they're constantly trying to upsell, and they are not true to who they are and what I need. I eject those people. That's why I said my advisory coaching program is 4 to 6 months. If I have not got you to that point after that time, I'm failing or you're not doing what we talk about. After that time, you shouldn't need me. Like, I will work my way out of working with someone, because after 6 months, you should be at a stage where you should be able to run it yourself. And sure, if you want to check in with me once a quarter, once a month, I can do that. But I'm not going to run something intense every single week with you, because we have missed something then. We are not compatible anymore, or I'm not able to give you what you need. And I remember one just about firing your clients. I had one, I don't want to mention name, but I should have fired him a long time ago, and he should have fired himself a long time ago. After a while, he was just giving advice that gave him more business instead of actually letting me know what I truly needed to hear. So I'm a little bit passionate, irritated about this topic because I experienced it myself.
Well, sure. But the fact of the matter is, I know that entrepreneurs, by their very nature, are very. I got told one time, you're not a very good employee, because you get stubborn and you think you know what you're doing. And I was running the radio show at the time, and and it was my show and stuff. And so I didn't necessarily take it well when somebody was saying, I think you should do this instead, or why did you do that? That's not how you should be doing that. And I didn't take it very well. And it takes a certain amount of maturity to figure it out and to take those things better, doesn't it?
It does, but I also believe if I'm told, or if you have told, even if you're told you're an asshole or you're screwing something up, Kevin, I think in the moment you'll get pissed and you'll reject it. That's okay. I still believe in the long run, did you a favor to making you aware that that behavior, that strategy, that whatever it is, it set you off in the wrong direction. Maybe you realize it a year later. I'll give you another success story here, just like how much radical candor works. And by the way, I have more stories. I have one woman client that actually I had to let go as well, because most clients stick around, but it sounds like I'll fire everyone. That's not it. But this is the last one. So, then I'll give you another one, another situation. I actually paid back the money. So we were 2 weeks in to our engagement. I clearly saw she should not be working with me, and I gave her back half of the first month payment, and I thanked her, and I gave her a few resources and a few other coaches that I think she would be a better fit for. It's the same when you hire people. You got to have a culture fit, and you got to hire people that get it, want it, capacity to do it, and then culture fit. So if you have that, you have a good match. But it's the same with everyone you partner. It's the same with your coach. You shouldn't just accept anyone. The other thing, you said something else that triggered my mind, but now I just lost it.
Oh, it'll come back.
It'll come back. Anyway.
So,
I don't fire everyone. So I have several that are super successful. That's where I was going. But the point is that people that are, it started negative here, but I'm going to say the people that are dedicated, they're ready to go. Like they will, the way I work with people, I meet them every week. There is homework. There are things you have to do in between. There are exercises about understanding deep emotional intelligence. There are business exercise, leadership things you have to do, decisions you have to make. And then I check in with you multiple times in the week. And if I have worked with you in that capacity for, let's say, 4 or 5 months, you have got a lot of action done. Like you have transformed a lot of things. And now you need to get familiar with your new company. And that's why I want to back off, because if people start using me as a crutch sometimes, and that's not a sustainable model either.
Unless you're going to be there forever, because that's not you. See, that way you'd become his CEO or something, and that's not what you want to do.
No, I want to help 10,000 entrepreneurs, and if I've done that, then I'm happy.
Well, and bless you for that, because entrepreneurs need all the help that they can get, because there's a lot of competition out there. There's lots of folks that don't wish you well when you're an entrepreneur and you're starting something. So it's vital that someone like you is out there that can help people get through the stuff, because I know I've been through it the last 4 years, and I'm just now coming to where we've structured it differently in a way that makes sense, that we're now focused on exactly what we do. You said before the show that I do an insane amount of podcasts, and that's true. But that's by design, because I like doing them, and they can go everywhere, and people can get all kinds of interesting things to think about. And one of the things to think about is someone like you, and being a coach, and being an entrepreneur needing a coach, I think is pretty vital, don't you?
I would never have got to my career level. I was an executive for 10 years, a CEO for 7 years. I had a high stake job for almost 15 years. I had coaches, mentors, leadership psychologists around me every single day. There is no way in hell I would have got to the top and stayed at the top. I was 37 years old when I became CEO of a Canon-owned company so I founded as well, but it's like that I actually founded, but long story, but it was owned by Canon. But what I wanted to say is I was 37, and in a Japanese business culture, and surviving there, reporting all the way up to Mr. Mitterrand and all the craziness that comes from that. No offense, he's a great guy. But what I'm trying to say is it's still a Japanese culture. How did I survive that? Mentors, other people that are culture experts that that understands the, for example, business culture, the mix between US, Europe in this case, and Japan. And I often tell people this, that it's so freaking important that you understand that you can live 10 years and get 1 year experience. Or you can live 1 year and work 1 year, but get 10 years experience. People take for granted that's linear. It's not. You can accelerate it. You can hyper accelerate your learning curve and your growth. You just have to be willing to suffer a little bit and understand that, yeah, sure, put in the work now for the next 4 to 6 months, and you will benefit 5 years from now. Or you can organically do it yourself and you can grow it, but you cannot scale it with other people. And I think, or without the help of others. And I think that's the biggest thing. Everyone is told we got to grow the company. Yeah, you can grow the company linearly yourself. But if you want to hyper grow it, or if you want to scale it, like 10x it, you need to work with other people who have been there, done that before.
I think that is so true. And when we come back, we need to take a quick break. And when we come back, I'm going to seek some advice from Andreas Pettersson. Go to his website again, leadersadapt.com. And we're also going to talk about his ADAPT strategy, which is ADAPT is an acronym, and he uses it to talk about the different aspects. The other thing that I want to talk about is an entrepreneur does not have, contrary to what they may think themselves, does not have all the skills and is not the best at everything in the world. They have a few things that they're really good at, and most things they really kind of suck at. And so it takes somebody who learns that to be able to bring in the people to do the things he sucks at. But we're going to talk about that. So we need to take a real quick break. We'll be right back. More with Andreas Pettersson. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. As you gather with family and friends who love and support you, look closer. There are youth right in your community who don't have the home, warmth, and healing you have. So look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. And for 50 years, Covenant House has worked relentlessly to keep them safe and protected. Tonight, 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed. And tomorrow, they will wake up surrounded by love. They get clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In sites across America to help them fulfill the great promise of their lives. So look closer at Covenant House. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. We've got a great guest, Tease, and CEO, entrepreneur, a coach, and he's a pretty smart dude too. And it's great to have you here. And by the way, I play that commercial, and I'm going to play that every time I do a show until I don't have to play that commercial anymore, because we figured out how to feed 4 million kids who need food and a place to live, and we can get all that done. We can do it if we choose to. But I'm going to play that ad nauseum. I hope that I can reach a time when I don't have to play it anymore. Anyway, Andreas, thank you for being here. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
It is really fun, and I'll tell you, if I can tell you my journey just a little bit. I started this again. I did the show back in 2003, and I did it 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, and I ran out of money because I didn't sell enough advertising, and I was trying to do it all myself. Hosting a show 2 hours a day, booking the show, and then going out and selling the show, and then creating commercials, and then I'm afraid that can't happen. There just wasn't enough time in the day, and nor did I have the expertise that I needed to do all of that. So it failed. And then in 19, I started the podcast, and I've been building the company over time to try and make it big enough to give us a platform that someone like you can come on and it can be beneficial for you. And we can have a really good conversation, and you can get something out of it, and the audience is large enough to get something out of it. It's been a slow go, I got to tell you, and we're still not there yet, but we're progressing. But there was a lot of bumps in the road. Remember, I was talking about that business mindset of doing the SOPs and the having all the doc and all your things lined up and stuff before you, and then we didn't have a clear vision of what we wanted to do and how we wanted to do it. It's only been the last 6 months that vision has really cleared up for me. But I didn't have the expertise to be able to say. I really needed a coach, because I didn't have the expertise to be able to say, no, that's not what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do because this is what we do well.
Laser focus. That's the repeating pattern on a lot of people I meet. And you have to spend a lot of time getting frenetic on who's the target audience, how are we going to make money. And then as a founder of the company, I mean, like your role is sales. Like you're in sales all the time. If it's getting more listeners in, or if it's more views, or if it's advertising, you have to have a mindset that you're always selling. And many founders, they sadly come from a W2 world, and sales, that was another department, but you've always been a little salesy, so you can sort of handle it. You said you came from management
And
consultancy.
sales.
And
Yeah.
say, okay, so you have sales background. That's really good. But I would say that there are many bare minimum frameworks out there. I'm a big fan of Entrepreneurial Operating System, EOS. There was a book written by a guy, Gino Wickman. He wrote Traction a few years ago, and another book called Rocket Fuel. I would say anyone who is a W2 person considering leaving that world and starting their own business, or if you are an entrepreneur, but you just want to know, like, what's the bare minimum processes and procedures we need? I would say Traction and Entrepreneurial Operating System is a good start, but don't do all of it. Do bare minimum. And that is the first step is something called the Vision Traction Organizer. And I am not associated with them at all. I just ran it in my own companies, and now I run it here as well. But what it is, it forces you to get laser focus on what is the vision? What is it that what is our mission? What is it that we're trying to do? What's the first way we're going to make money doing what we're doing? And you have to iterate it until it is so crystal clear for everyone. And as a founder, then you have to tell everyone every single week about 21 times, which is 3 times in the day. Yes, you need to tell them during the weekends as well, because just because it's your vision doesn't mean it's others people's vision. And that's what I meant before, like getting frenetic on who is the buyer, who is it? And it's page number 1 in any marketing book will tell you, talk to everyone, no one listens. And the trick is talk to fewer people and make sure that they truly listen. One crazy thing I'm doing right now is I'm deleting Instagram followers on my account. I started deleting people I don't believe are a potential customer of mine, or that shouldn't listen to my message. Before I was like, oh, people are following me, I'm fine with that. Now, if they're reaching out, they're trying to sell me something, I see they follow, I look at their content, and they're just not someone I would like to be associated with it, I delete them again. It's super weird, but I do. And I don't think it's a numbers game. It's who can buy from you. Back to you, Kevin. Like, I want to ask you a couple of questions there.
Uh-oh.
Made you realize 6 months ago or 9 months ago, whatever it is, that you had to sharpen the pen? Because something usually happens in a company or in your mindset.
Well, one of it was because I have a production company and I have the radio show. And the production company produces a radio show. But I had people around me that were saying, well, we should sell production to other people. Now, my skill set is being a radio host and doing this, not selling production stuff to other people, because to me that's tedious and that's just a lot of busy work, and it also isn't long lasting or sustainable in my mind, because it comes and it goes. Whereas you build a radio following, and you build that following, and it continues to grow, and you get to a point of what they call critical mass,
Hmm.
where it starts to take off because more people are listening to it. So when a particular individual left the company who was advocating for the production side, that allowed me to then become, as you say, laser focused on what the actual reason for the company's existence is.
Yeah.
And
The why and how and what you're doing. And that usually you have to cut. It's not what you say yes to that makes you successful. It's what you say no to.
I now understand that, and I agree. And it took me 2.5 years to figure that out, because I was getting the advice from somebody that, and I really, really respect this person, she's very smart. But for me, it wasn't. It was draining,
Yeah.
and it wasn't uplifting when we would have meetings and stuff. It was, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you? Because I want to do this, but that's not going to make you money. You got to do that. You know what I mean? And so it became a real, rather than a focused, driven idea of what we were going to do. It became too scattered,
It's
and we can't.
distraction, and
Yeah,
it's concentrated efforts gives concentrated results. So congratulations that it didn't take you 5 years. I meet people that have been in that situation and they have 4 different products. The first thing I do, and this might help you if you haven't done it, when people come to me and they say, I have this problem, that's never their problem. Like what they think is their problem is usually never their problem. And when I start working with people, they're like, see, here my business strategy, and here my presentation, and here's what I want to do, and these grandiose visions. And then I usually ask them, great, list me your company's core values. And they usually can. I'm like, okay, what's your core values? They seldomly overlap. And then I say, okay, what are your strengths, and how is that complementing the company's core values and your own core values? And usually people can't answer it. Well, I'm good at sales. No. That's what you do. What's your strength? It's like your strength, Kevin, might be you're a visionary, or you're a strategist, or you can be many different things. There are many tests you can do. But the first 2 weeks I work with people, like we got to nail your core values, how you show up when no one else is listening or looking. And then number 2 is, what are your true strengths? Do you truly understand yourself? If I don't understand that, to give the example about your product, you had 2 products, but because your core values weren't aligned and your strengths weren't aligned with that product, it will be one of those. You put it to the side all the time. And like you said, it's a frustration, it's a distraction. It just doesn't align with you. Many people think it's because we are busy being busy, or we have other things to do. No, it's often because subconsciously you're telling yourself, I don't love this. I'm good at it, but I don't love it. And therefore, your passion, your strengths, your core values, like who you are as an individual, that extra spice that makes it successful now disappears from that product. So you're serving a bland meal. And that's where you got to get the whole organization to align on, like, what's the one thing we're targeting? What's the one thing we're doing this week? And what else got to give? What do we got to say no to? And you as a leader got to step in and start saying no to a lot of things for the organization and for people to feel it's okay to slow down on some things so they can go faster on the things that aligns with who you are. So many times I meet founders that have built a business where they accidentally created their values, their core values, and it's misaligned with your core strengths. And that's why they're not in love with it. They were good at it, but they don't love it. And if you want to have a successful business, you better love what you do, because otherwise you're going to end up having issues. That was a long speech. Is anything of this resonating?
all of it. All of it, because you're exactly right. And as an entrepreneur, just to give you a little background on me, when I first went into management with the DoubleTree Plaza Hotel in South Center in Seattle, they gave me a test, and they gave me an aptitude test of, are you a management type? Are you a sales type? Can you do all of this stuff? Well, the test came back, and it turned out that I am a decent sales guy. I'm like in the top 50%. But where my strength is, and it's proven out through my career, is on my management capabilities, because I'm empathetic towards people, but I can understand where they're coming from, but I can also direct them in a positive way and to get what I need from them. And they feel good about it. And so I'm much better manager than I am a sales guy. So what I think that I should be doing is I need to hire a guy that would test in the top 10% of sales guys,
Yes.
and then manage him to do that, because he's better than I am.
Yeah, and your personality, you just describe positive talk where you show entrepreneurs empathy and you get their ideas out, which is the whole concept of what you're doing. And obviously, how does that correlate with the other part of the business that you turned down?
I hated it.
Yeah, because it's not aligned with who you are. And never build a business that doesn't align with who you are, because that's what gets you going the days you want to stay in bed, that you just want to say, I'm done with it, I'm over with it. But if you are in love with it and it's who you are, you become a part of the business, and you're resilient. You can keep going. It doesn't matter what people say. When shit hits the fan, you're going to defend it like it's your own baby. Only if your business is aligned with you.
That is such. How much do I owe you? I'll write you a check, because that is the essence. But what happens when we come back from this break? What happens to us? Because we get pulled in all kinds of different directions by different people who think their vision aligns with ours, but it really doesn't. But we don't have the intestinal fortitude to tell them that, and to say, it just ain't working out, because this is my vision, this is what I want, and if you can't do that, then go do something of your own and stuff.
I'll share a model with you after the break.
I would love that. We'll be right back.
Last week, Brandon met a girl on a dating app. One day after work, he finally found the courage to ask her out. No answer. He started to panic. Was he being too pushy? Maybe it was too...
Hey, sorry I didn't respond. I was driving. I would love to go on a date. How does tonight sound?
Brandon tried to play it cool, but inside he knew. A girl so smart, so responsible, she must be a keeper.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, and Andreas Pettersson is our guest, and he is an entrepreneur. He is a coach. He helps entrepreneurs get out of their own way. Would that be a good analogy?
Yes. I help and I get out of their own way, and I help people recategorize fear as unfamiliar. And to build upon what we talked about before the break, I want to give you a model. You said it's hard to shoot down someone's idea. It's hard to say no to someone who thinks they understand their vision. And partly probably because you are a relationship person and you care for other people. You're a very positive person. You want to help. Like, that's the impression. Warm, fuzzy. That's what I get from you. Many people are okay with a no if they feel understood. When you have been getting no's, Kevin, you didn't feel understood, and that rubs people the wrong way. So there is a model called said, heard, understood, accepted or rejected, but always committed. And what that means is, if I say something to you, I can see that you hear it. You nod your head, you're like, I'm a little curious, and so on. But if I try to explain something to you, or you explain something to me, and I don't ask you a follow-up question, I don't ask you, like I asked you before the break, did I get that? Is this resonating? you won't feel understood. And sometimes when someone comes to you with an idea and you feel like, I need to shut it down, don't just shut it down. A no, saying nothing is worse than giving people a no. But what you need to do is you need to say, have I understood you correctly? So use the word understood. Have I understood you correctly when you say A, B, and C? Yes or no? Okay, cool. Have I understood you correctly when you said, if we do this, then this will happen? And then go back and forth and make it a logical conversation, not an emotional conversation. When the other party now slowly starts feeling like Kevin really gets what I'm trying to do, but he doesn't seem bought into it. If you then go, said, heard, understood, accepted, or rejected. So if you now say, look, person X, Y, and Z, I really understand this. The timing isn't now, or this is actually not going in the direction where I want to drive the vision. And as a result, I'm afraid it's going to be a distraction. What you then, if the person just felt understood, they can usually be okay with you rejecting them. But how you now get to commitment is, would you like me to tell you a little bit actually what I have in mind? Maybe we can modify your idea. Maybe it's part of this, but let me tell you about where we are going as a company. Let me tell you about our budget's constraint. Let me tell you about X, Y, and Z. And now you can still get people committed. Most managers, they let it dwindle in and disappear. And that's the most freaking frustrating thing for an employee, and probably for you as well. If you have ever come to someone with an idea and that person like, oh yeah, I'll get back to you, and you never hear from them. That's the worst. Like, okay, what does this mean? Do I continue? Is it done? Should I feel stupid? Like, no, it's like, you got to tell people either a no or make them understand why not. If you give the why not and you make them understand, they will not feel bad about it. The reason why you're afraid of it and why many entrepreneurs are afraid of saying no sometimes, I'm not saying you are, but historically why it took you 2.5 years to get to it, it's because you're afraid of hurting someone's feelings. But show them that they're understood and that they're being truly listened to, and they can get by it in most cases.
I have another issue that I would love your expertise. And I think this is a kind of a widespread issue for a recovering employee or a recovering manager in a corporate setting to being an entrepreneur. Because it's my company and it's me, I'm a lot more forgiving than when I was in management working for somebody else.
Usually it's the opposite. Usually when it's yours, you feel the rope around your neck or the pressure, and you want to make quick decisions and you don't tolerate the wrong, bad behavior or whatever it is. But I think this is a personality thing more than anything then, because like I said, you seem like a very positive, warm, approachable person. So just avoid you not being taken advantage of. I'm not saying it's a bit in your situation now. I'm talking to everyone. One big mistake I see people do is they feel a level of responsibility for an individual's family, their income, their livelihood. But what they don't understand is that if, let's say you're 5 people in a company and you get one person that isn't performing at the level where you expect them to perform, every time you feel like I should probably do something, but let's wait. So you're not course correcting, you're not giving feedback, you're not getting rid of them if it's that bad. You're risking the other 4. If there is one person that is behaving bad or not delivering or pulling their weight or pulling their part, doing their part of the work, and everyone else is busting their ass, you're slowly eroding results and trust, because now you have high performers and low performers, and that will slowly erode. What you have to do is constantly lift everyone up, but that gap will grow over time as you're lifting others up to one extent where the top performer in yourself will feel resentment. It's much, much better to address with feedback and get the other person, and you give them a chance, push them, but you gotta give feedback constantly. And for every positive like for every 10 positive, you can give 1 negative. And what many leaders also don't do is encourage people enough. So when there is a negative, the person don't feel butthurt. Like, oh, you only say negatives. Like, no, I give you all these positives. Like, you're amazing, but get your act together on this specific one. So you want to always close the gap between top performers and lower performers. And you want to make sure it's a less gap. But if the gap goes the other way, you're not addressing it, you're being nice, all of these things, you might lose your A players instead. And that's way worse and hurts everyone else. It's a ripple effect.
See, and in my case, it was exactly the opposite, because I was working for somebody else who had expectations of what my job was for them. If somebody didn't meet those expectations, they were gone, because they needed to be, because I needed to make sure that I took care of the core group that
in your corporate job.
In my corporate job.
Yeah. But now that it's your business, I'm telling you, it's like, as soon as you as a leader feel like, not sure, 2.5 years goes by, and then there was a distraction, and now you're on the right path. Not saying it was a bad person. I think there's always a perfect job out there for everyone, and they are a perfect culture fit. It just don't always happen to be in the company I'm in or the company you're in. So you have to constantly give people feedback. Don't go like, oh, if they do it again, then I'll give them feedback. No, instantly, direct, unbiased, no emotions. The situation was, the complication was, the changes I would like to see. Do you agree? If you don't agree, I need you to make a change now. Like, you need to be just very cut and dry when you give people feedback. Because in the end of the day, you want to know where you're at. By the time you were if you were let go from a corporate job, you were like, where did that come from? Or like, exactly. But if you had been given feedback, good and bad, you could have course corrected and you wouldn't have ended up there.
Well,
I'm a little bit passionate about this. Sorry.
No, you should be. You should be, because this is what creates a great company and a great company culture. Because I mean, there are 3 people that come to mind that I fired because of performance issues in my time in management. And all three of them came back to me at one time when I met them, like at a convenience store or something. And they said, I just want to thank you, because I hated that damn job.
Yes. And so people always say that if people leave without having a new job, it's a red flag. No. Congratulations, you spared yourself from getting fired 5 minutes later.
Exactly. By the way, sadly, you're going to have to come back, because we haven't even talked about some of the stuff that I wanted to talk about yet. But if you would be so kind as to come back, that would be great. And but before we go to his website, which is leadersadapt.com. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we have to wrap it up?
Always reach out to me on Instagram, which is Andreas the CEO. And I try to reply personally to everyone. And I try to give advice. If someone says, I can't afford you, but I have this specific dilemma, can you point me in a direction? I almost always take the time to at least give them either an audio message or share a link or do something, so I at least feel like I have helped one more person. And so don't be a stranger. If people want to see specific content from me, DM me on Instagram so I can start putting that content out there as well. And then the last thing is, life is long if you know how to use it. I've said that multiple times, but surround yourself with other people. If it's not me, get other people who have been on the journey before you. Please, please, please do that. Don't try to do it yourself. Then your life will become short and you waste time.
And money. And friends, and perhaps your wife, who says, you're now broke. I don't want to be around a broke person and stuff. So, Andreas, thank you so much for being here. Andreas Pettersson has been our guest, and leadersadapt.com is his website. Thank you so much. I've learned a lot today, and I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I love the conversation. Let's continue it.
Yes, sir. Thanks for listening to this episode of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Our purpose is to provide everyone with a positive, entertaining, and educational experience. I would love your feedback and comments about the show, including possible topics and great guest suggestions. Please email me at kevin@kmmedia.pro. And remember, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got. That's Kevin at kmmedia.pro.